Hello and welcome. Welcome to another English class and welcome to a beginner's class. Now this class is a class for you and a class for me. Hoy me toca un reto. And today I have a challenge. From my head, without a list, I'm going to teach you as many verbs as possible. Verbs, verbos. Verbs. To go is a verb. To come, to eat, to see, to play, etc. are verbs. Let's make a list. Hagamos una lista. You and me. Let's make a list of action verbs. Now I think there are about 80 action verbs in English. Only 80. At least 80 relevantes, important action verbs. And let's see how many in 19 or 20 minutes, how many action verbs we can list. Okay? Are you ready? Okay, first, I'm looking at you. Yeah, I'm looking at you. To look at. That's one. So we have 79 left. Nos quedan 79. We have 79 left. I am looking at you. And you're looking at me. And if I'm looking at you and you are, contracción, you're looking at me, then we're looking at each other. We are, contracción, we're looking at each other. I'm looking at you, you're looking at me, we're looking at each other. Okay. Now, I'm pointing at you. Okay? I'm pointing at you. I'm pointing at you with my right hand. Okay? To point. To point at. I'm pointing at you. And point at me. Come on. Okay? Now you're pointing at me. And now we are pointing at each other. Okay. So, por lo tanto, that's 2 action verbs. We have 78 left. Wow. I'm not sure we'll have time. All right. I'm sitting in a chair. I'm sitting at the table. I'm sitting in front of you. To sit. Estar sentado is to sit. Siéntate is sit down. Una vez que te sientas, estás sentado. Once you sit down, you're sitting. So I'm sitting in front of you. Okay, now I'm standing. Estoy de pie. I'm not sure if I can stand because the camera, but to stand is estar de pie. ¿Qué estás haciendo? Pues estoy de pie. Aquí de pie. I'm standing. I'm sitting. I'm standing. Okay? So, we have 4 action verbs. Now, watch. I'm getting up. Slowly. Me estoy levantando. I'm getting up. I'm getting up. So, to get up is another action verb. Es lo que llamamos un verbo compuesto o phrasal verb, compound verb. Get tiene 1000 significados, pero con up, to get up, es levantarse, to get up. All right? I'm speaking to you. To speak, another action verb. I'm speaking to you. I'm speaking to you in English. I'm not speaking to you in Spanish. I'm speaking to you. Also, if we start a conversation, you and me, then I'm not speaking to you. I'm talking to you, okay? So to talk and to speak, both in the dictionary, ambos have the definition of hablar. However, there's a difference. There's an important difference sometimes, and other times no. I need to speak to you about this problem. I need to talk to you about this problem is the same. But if you are a mother or a father, a parent, and you go to the school of this primary school where your son is taking classes, and you go to visit the teacher. And the teacher says to you, Jimmy speaks a lot in class. I said, oh, good. That's nice. Our son speaks a lot in class. Yes, he speaks a lot in class. Then probably you're happy. But if the teacher tells you, Mr. Jones, Jimmy talks a lot in class, that means that Jimmy is not paying attention to the teacher and he's talking with another student. So to speak is to direct your speech, to address a person. Dirigirse a una persona. Address, como dirección o señas. And to talk is simply to converse. Okay? I'm talking to you and I'm speaking to you. Okay? I'm looking at you. I'm pointing at you. Okay? And this pen, I'm holding it in my right hand. Now I'm holding it in my left hand. To hold. Sujetar o sostener. To hold. Yes, I'm holding the pen tightly. I'm holding the pen loosely. To hold. Now I'm holding the pen in both hands. And now I'm not holding the pen. Okay. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 action verbs hasta ahora, so far. We have covered 8 action verbs so far. I don't think we're going to have time. We need 10 times more. So let's continue. Now, I'm putting the pen on the table. I'm putting the cap of the pen on the table. So to put is colocar o poner. I'm putting the pen in my pocket. I'm putting the pen in my pocket. Okay? Yes. All right. My hands are closed. I'm opening my hand. So to open is another verb. To open. This book. This book is open. It's not closed. Okay? I am closing the book. I'm closing the book. And now I'm opening the book. Opening, closing, opening, closing. It's very easy for you. So we have 3 more verbs. To put, I'm putting the pen on the table. I'm opening the book. I'm closing the book. Okay. All right. So we have many more verbs. We have 11 verbs now. All right. So if I lose my pen, I'm looking for my pen. Where is it? I can't find my pen. I'm looking for it. Okay, here it is. So to look for is another verb using look, but with a different preposition. To look at, to look for. Okay? And now I am scratching my elbow. This is my elbow, and my elbow itches. So I'm scratching. Okay, scratching my elbow. To scratch. To scratch. Interesting word. Scratch is rascar o también arañar, to scratch. I can take this pen and I can scratch your car. If I'm bad, I can scratch your car. Okay? Or I can accidentally scratch my face. But now I'm scratching my elbow. Now I'm scratching my forearm. Now I'm scratching the back of my hand. And now I'm scratching the palm of my hand. And now I'm scratching my head. And now I'm scratching my nose. Okay? So to scratch. And it's very interesting. In English, we have an expression. When you say in Spanish, partir de cero, in English we say to start from scratch. We don't say to start from zero. Okay? To start from scratch. Okay, we have 13 verbs now. Let's continue. Now, what am I doing? I'm breathing. I'm breathing. In order to live, I need to breathe. I'm breathing oxygen. Oxígeno. There is oxygen in the air. In the atmosphere, there is oxygen. Basically, we have oxygen and nitrogen. We need oxygen. We don't need nitrogen for breathing. Okay? And we breathe in and we breathe out. Breathe in. I'm breathing in. I'm breathing out. To inhale, to exhale. To breathe in, to breathe out. Okay. So we have another verb, breathing. Okay? And now, I am blinking my eyes. Can you see my eyes? I'm blinking my eyes faster than usual. Everybody needs to blink their eyes. And maybe we blink our eyes 5 times per minute, 10 times per minute. I don't know. I have no idea. I have never counted how many times I blink my eyes. But you can blink a lot, or you can try to keep your eyes open. But now I'm blinking my eyes, okay? You have two words in Spanish for that. You have parpadear and you have pestañear, okay? To blink, blink, okay? Now, one eye is not to blink. If I want to say, hello, and I wink, W-I-N-K. Es como blink, pero quitas la BL y pones una W. Wink. You wink. When you wink, do you wink with your right eye or with your left eye? Which eye do you use to wink? I'm winking at you. Okay. Next one. Drinking. This is a cup of water. Okay. This isn't a glass of water. It's a cup because it's made of plastic. If this were made of glass, this would not be a cup. It would be a glass of water. And I'm drinking. I'm drinking some water because I'm thirsty. If I weren't thirsty, I wouldn't drink any water. But I'm thirsty. Tengo sed. Estoy sediento, decimos en inglés. I'm thirsty, so I'm drinking algo de agua, some water. And I'm putting the cup back on the table. So to drink, of course. And then we have to eat. I'm holding a fork in this hand. I'm holding a knife in this hand, and I'm cutting a steak, un filete, to cut. It's another verb, action verb. I'm cutting, con doble T en medio. I'm cutting the steak, and I'm eating the pieces of the meat. Okay? So I'm cutting and I'm eating, and I'm drinking water, and I'm eating steak, and I'm cutting the steak. Okay. So we have the verb to eat. Eating. I'm eating, I'm drinking, I'm cutting, I'm winking, I'm blinking, I'm scratching, I'm yawning. Oh, I'm sleepy today. Can't you see my eyes? I'm yawning, bostezando, con Y al principio. Yawn. Y-A-W-N. I'm yawning, and I'm holding my hand over my mouth. I'm holding my hand over my mouth. I'm covering my mouth. Okay? Because I'm yawning. Okay, and now I'm covering the pen with the book. To cover. There are a lot of action verbs in English and in Spanish. I'm yawning, I'm covering my mouth. Okay, I'm blinking, I'm eating, I'm drinking. There are many things, many verbs that are easy to learn in the present continuous. Cosas que estoy haciendo ahora. Acciones en vías de realización. All right. I'm opening my eyes, I'm closing my eyes. Okay. So, shall we continue? Now, I am rolling up my sleeves. To roll. Okay. If you have a wheel, una rueda, it rolls. It can roll this way, it can roll that way. If I drink all the water in this glass, if I finish the water, I can put this cup sideways and I can roll it. I'm rolling the cup. Okay? I'm rolling. Okay? Rolling, rolling, rolling. The Rolling Stones, que es la piedra que rueda. The Rolling Stones. And when you see a car, you see 4 wheels. And if the car is moving, all 4 wheels are rolling. Not just 3, but all 4 are turning. They are rolling. And to turn. Okay, to turn is another verb. Okay. This book is in front of me. And now I'm turning the first page. I'm opening the book by turning the first page. Now I'm turning the second page. I'm turning the third page. Now I'm closing the book and I'm turning the book around. I'm turning the book around. Verbos compuesto que añado around. Cuando es darle la vuelta de esta forma. And now I'm turning the book around again. Okay. And now I'm turning the book over. And now I'm turning the book over again. So to turn, okay? To push. This table is too close to me. I'm pushing the table away from me. I'm pushing the table in your direction, not in my direction. And I'm still, todavía estoy empujando. And now, what am I doing? Well, I'm still pushing the table. And now, I'm still pushing the table. Now the table is too far. It's too far away from me. The table is too far away from me, so I need to bring the table closer. How? Pulling. Tirando de. So I have to push and to pull. Very easy. I'm pulling the table towards me. Hacia mí. Towards me. Y por cierto, towards, se puede decir sin la S, toward. There are two spellings, toward and towards. I'm pulling the table towards me. Okay, now. Now I'm moving the cup to the other side of the table, and I'm moving the book to this side of the table. So we have to move, que es desplazar o mover. Okay, to move. All right. There are many verbs. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Hasta ahora. ¿Cómo se dice hasta ahora? Hasta ahora hemos visto 26 verbos de acción. So far, como tan lejos. So far, hemos visto, we have seen 26 action verbs. Otra forma para hasta ahora. Up to now. Until now? No me gusta. Up to now, we have seen 26 verbs. So far, we have seen 26 verbs. And maybe I have time for one or two more. Okay? This piece of paper has my verbs, and I am folding the paper. I'm folding the paper. Doblar, papel o tela, is to fold. También un pliegue is a fold. Okay? To fold. Plegar. I'm folding the paper. Okay? Now this, I'm not folding the pen because this pen isn't made of paper or material. Tela. Fabric material. This pen is hard, so I'm bending this pen. To fold and to bend. Ambos se traducen por doblar. Okay? Pero es una forma de doblar y otro. Soft is fold. Hard is bend, okay? And I'm bending my arm. I'm bending my arm, okay? I'm bending my leg, okay? So, to fold and to bend. So now we have 28. So far we have covered 28 action verbs. I want to teach you 80 action verbs. So I still have a lot left. How many do I have left? Well, I have 52 action verbs left. 52 action verbs. There are a lot more. Okay, to count, to touch, to reach. Many more. So we'll see you again in a new show, and we'll continue, maybe if we have time, we'll continue looking at action verbs, winking and more, okay? So, study hard. Study a lot. And I'll see you again very, very soon. Bye-bye. Hello, welcome back. Welcome back to another program, English. I'm dressed very formally today because today I need to be serious because Claire, the director of these programs, told me I'm not serious enough. She told me, Cloverdale, English is a very serious subject for many people. There are many people in this country who desperately need to improve their English, and you take it lightly. You need to take it very seriously. So the next time you come with a tie, okay? So I'm dressed semi-formally, because usually in English, there are three ways to dress. Formal dress, which usually is a bow tie, una pajarita, a bow tie, and a tuxedo or a smoking jacket. Semi-formal is this, and casual or informal is blue jeans or with an open neck shirt. That's informal or casual. Sometimes I teach casual and sometimes semi-formal. I have never given a class dressed formally with a bow tie. And I think the last time I wore a bow tie was 30 years ago. Okay. Do you have enough money to buy the Taj Mahal? Do you have enough money to buy a mansion? Do you have enough money to buy a Maserati? Do you have enough patience to sit down and listen to me? Do you have enough time, really, to study English properly? Enough. Okay. I don't have enough money to buy a car right now. I don't have enough time to study a new degree, una nueva carrera. But I have enough time to read a book. Now, question. See this book? Can you put this book in your pocket? Put this book in your pocket, okay? You can't. What's the problem? The book is too big. The book is too big. Is this book too big for your pocket? Or is your pocket too small for the book? What's the problem? You say, this book isn't small enough. Okay. In other words, your pocket isn't big enough. So we have 4 ways of talking about the problem. There's a problem here. I want you to put this book in your pocket. But there's a problem. I have a problem too. If I want to put this book in my pocket, I have 4 problems. Problem number 1. The book is too big. It's too big for my pocket. Problem number 2. My pocket is too small for the book. Problem number 3. The book isn't small enough to put in my pocket. Problem number 4. My pocket isn't big enough to accommodate this book. So, we have 4 ways of expressing the same idea. Another idea. I want to touch the ceiling, but I can't. The ceiling is too high. I'm not tall enough. Or the ceiling isn't low enough. Or I'm too short. Again, we have 4 ways of expressing the problem here, the limitations here. Let's look at them carefully. The ceiling is too high for me to touch. The ceiling is too high. I can't touch it. It's too high. Or, I'm too short to touch the ceiling. Or, I'm not tall enough to touch the ceiling. Or, the ceiling isn't low enough for me to touch it. Okay. Again, we have 4 possibilities. Okay. Now, I want to read this book. But I can't. It's too far away. I can't read it. It's too far away. Now, is it close enough? No, it's still too far away. And now I can't read it either. It's too close. But if I move it out, now it's far enough away for me to read. Okay, look, the ceiling, it's a normal ceiling. It's not a special ceiling. The ceiling's not very high, really, but it's too high for me to touch. In Spanish, you use the language in a freer way. In English, we're very specific. Sometimes you say, no puedo tocar el techo, es muy alto. You can't say that in English, unless the ceiling is very high. And this is a normal ceiling. It's not very high, but it's too high for me to touch. So when you say in Spanish, for example, no puedo tocar el techo porque es muy alto el techo. In English, we don't say, I can't touch the ceiling because it's very high. Because in fact, the ceiling is not very high. But we specify. We qualify. I can't touch the ceiling, but it's too high. And too is relative to my height. For example, no puedo tocar el techo porque soy muy bajo. That's not true. I'm 1 meter 80 centimeters, so I'm not necessarily a short person, but I'm too short to touch the ceiling. Okay, or you can say I'm not tall enough to touch the ceiling, or the ceiling isn't low enough for me to touch it. Okay, listen, I'm not tall enough. Enough va después de los adjetivos y los adverbios. Okay? Adjective, tall. I'm not tall enough to touch the ceiling. Enough goes after. Si es un sustantivo, enough va de antes. I don't have enough money to buy a yacht. Enough money. I don't have enough time to study a new language. I don't have enough patience to teach Spanish to English-speaking people. I don't have enough water to quench my thirst. I need more. Enough time, enough water, enough money, enough patience. Okay? All of these words are nouns, and enough goes before. But with adjectives and adverbs, after. The ceiling isn't low enough for me to touch it. I'm not tall enough to touch the ceiling. Your English is not good enough to negotiate $1 million contract in English. Okay? This table isn't light enough for me to carry it. It's too heavy. It's too heavy for me to carry. Claire, she told me before the class to carry this table to my car. And I said, I can't, Claire. The table is too heavy. She says, too heavy? Do you mean you're not strong enough to carry the table? No, I'm not strong enough. And she said, it's not a question of your being strong enough. You're too weak to carry the table. And I said, it's true, I'm too weak to carry this table because the table isn't light enough. So, 4 possibilities with table. I can't carry this table to my car for 4 reasons. Reason number 1, it's too heavy. Really, for a table, this is not really very heavy. It's a relatively light table. But for me, it's too heavy for me to carry. Or it's not light enough. This pen is light enough for me to pick up and carry with no problem. This table isn't light enough. It's too heavy. I'm not strong enough. If I were Superman, if I were Hercules, if I were, I don't know, Samson with long hair, maybe I could carry this table to my car, but the table's too heavy for me. I'm not strong enough. The table is too heavy for me. I'm not strong enough. The table isn't light enough. I'm too weak, demasiado débil. But I don't consider myself necessarily a weak person. But I'm too weak to carry this table. I'm not strong enough to carry this table. Okay? Yes. All right. Too and enough. Too difficult. El inglés es demasiado difícil para mí. English is too difficult. No es que sea muy difícil, pero es demasiado difícil para ti. Por ejemplo. English is not really difficult, but it's too difficult for some people. This table is not necessarily heavy, but it's too heavy for me. Okay? So, are you strong enough to carry an elephant? Are you strong enough to lift a car? Are you smart enough or intelligent enough to study calculus and algebra? Are you tall enough to play basketball in the professional leagues? Do you speak English well enough to negotiate a contract using the English language? Do you play the guitar well enough to compete with Paco de Lucia? All right. Do you know English well enough to maintain a simple conversation with me? All right. Do you speak well enough? Enough va después de los adjetivos, después de los adverbios. Okay. My English is good enough. Good is an adjective. Mi inglés es lo suficientemente bueno como para negociar un contrato importante. My English is good enough, an adjective, to negotiate a contract in English. I speak well enough. Well is an adverb. I speak well enough, okay, to negotiate a contract. Now, can I put this book in my pocket? No, I can't. The book is too big. My pocket isn't big enough to accommodate the book. My pocket is too small, or the book isn't small enough. Now, I remember about 10 years ago, I was working in a shop. I was the shop assistant, and the shop was devoted to musical instruments. And I remember one day in the morning, early, I opened the shop, nobody there, and a strange man walked into the shop. And I said, yes, may I help you? And the man said, yes, I want to buy a musical instrument. I said, very well. What do you have in mind? I don't know. Let's hear them. And I said, okay, here. And I took a flute or a piccolo. And I said, listen, with a piccolo. And the man said, no. Oh, no. That instrument is too high. I want an instrument a bit lower. That instrument is too high and too shrill. Ah, okay. So I went to the tuba. And I took the tuba and I went, and the man said, no. That instrument is too low. It's not high enough. That instrument is too low. Okay. So I changed. And I went to another instrument. And I got the guitar. And I played the guitar. He said, no. I said, well, what's the problem? He said, that instrument is too light. I want a heavier instrument. Okay, the instrument is too light. You want a heavier instrument. So I went to the piano, and I sat down at the piano, and I started playing the piano. And the man said, no. And I said, what's the problem with the piano? He said, it's too heavy. I can't take it to a party. Okay, so one instrument is too light. The other instrument is too heavy. Another instrument is too high. Another instrument is too low. Okay, well, wait a minute. So I went to the trumpet. And I got a trumpet, which is light, like a guitar. I said, no. That instrument is too loud. Okay, it's too noisy. It's too loud. I want a quieter instrument. Oh, so I went to a clavichord, and I sat down at the clavichord, which was the favorite instrument of the wives during the Middle Ages and the Renaissance and the classical period. When the husband was sleeping, they played the clavichord when they suffered insomnia. And I sat down at the clavichord. La, da, 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 da. He said, no. That instrument is too soft. I want an instrument a bit louder, but the trumpet is too loud. I said, okay, let's see. The trombone. So I got a trombone. And I got the... He said, oh, not bad. But no, and I said, what's the problem with the trombone? It says, it's too long. Too long? What do you mean too long? Well, I need to move that slide, said Islitha, with my arm, and my arm isn't long enough to reach the end. My arm is too short to play the trombone. I said, okay, wait. And so I got a clarinet. A clarinet. I said, no, clarinet, no. I said, what's the problem with the clarinet? And he said, there are too many keys. I need to use my fingers too much. I said, okay. And I said, well, what do you suggest? The trumpet is too loud. The clavichord is too soft. With the trombone, your arm isn't long enough and the slide is too long. With the piano, it's too heavy. With the guitar, it's too light. With the piccolo, it's too high. And with the tuba, it's too low. I think I have the perfect instrument for you, sir. Oh, good. What instrument is that? I said, a CD player. There you can play the music loud if you turn up the volume, and you can turn down the volume and make it soft. You don't need a long arm to turn on it, and it's not too high if you control the treble and the bass, and it's not too low if you control the bass and the treble, and it's perfect. And you can carry it with you because it's relatively small. It's not too big, it's not too small, okay? And you can carry it, it's not too heavy, but it's not too light, like this pen or this cup of water. So I recommend a record player or a CD player. And he said, perfect, I'll buy it. How much? And I said, let's see, it is 173 euros. No, it's too expensive. It's too expensive. It's only 170 euros and it's a very good CD player. Yes, but I only have 85 euros. So it's too expensive for me. It's not cheap enough. I don't have enough money. All right? I'm not rich enough. So we have 4 possibilities for our final problem with this customer in my shop. Then the problem boils down to, como hierve, cuece, se reduce a. It boils down to 4 problems. Our friend doesn't have enough money. He's too poor to buy the CD player. He's not rich enough. And the CD player is too expensive for him. It's not cheap enough. There are many different ways. So finally I said, okay, do you see this pen? Well, if you push this button, it makes music. This is the cereal I shot from guns. Okay, a musical pen. How much is it? It's only 5 euros. Fantastic. I'll take it. And I gave him the pen. And he gave me the money. And he took the pen and he said, yes. But is this pen big enough for my pocket? Oh, yes, it is. Is my pocket big enough for the pen? Yes, it is. Try. Does it work? Yes. Okay. Push the button. Listen to the music. Is it too loud? No, it's not too loud. It's just right. Is it too soft? It's not too soft. It's just right. Okay. Fantastic. I hope to see you again. And he walked away a happy customer. Okay. And me? Was I a happy shop assistant? Well, I had 5 euros after 15 minutes, which is not really good, but it was the first 15 minutes that I opened the shop. And usually in my shop, the first 15 minutes, nobody comes in, so I'm happy too. And are you happy with your English? Are you going to study? Are you going to learn too high, too low, too big, too small, not big enough, not high enough, not expensive enough, not cheap enough? Remember, if you study, you can learn these. All right, see you soon. Bye-bye. Hello, and welcome back. Just a second. Can you see that? No? Okay. Do you think they can see it, Claire? No? Okay, I'll help you. To be worth. Okay, to be worth. To be worth. To be worth. Strange expression. How much is English worth? How much is this ring worth? How much is a good education worth? I remember the same teacher. When I was in 5th grade, quinto de primaria, I was 10 years old, maybe 11. I turned 11. Cumplí los 11 años en el tercer mes de quinto. I turned 11 in the 3rd month of 5th grade. In the United Kingdom, they say primary. I think they say primary 5. I was in 5th grade, and I didn't like that teacher. I hated that teacher. Miss Kelly, Mrs. Kelly, all right? But for some strange reason, many of the anecdotes I tell on my classes are from that year with that teacher I didn't like. She said things that were sometimes wrong, okay? But I remember one thing. She said, children, boys and girls, do you like school? And we all said, no, yeah, we hate school. And the teacher said, well, would you come to school every day if you were paid $10 a day, $10 por día, which is about 10 euros. And all the students said, yeah, of course, wow. If we were paid $10 a day, every student, I would come to school for $10 a day. And the teacher said, well, you are already receiving $10 a day because the value of your education, if you finish it, is worth all the days multiplied by $10 plus additional money that you earn in salaries as an adult. The difference between the normal salary or earnings as an adult, if you have a good education, if you don't, is the equivalent of $10 a day for every day of your school life. And everybody, all the students says, wow, yeah? She said, yes, so continue coming because the money's invisible, but you're receiving $10 a day. That's how much your education is worth. Huh? And when you finish your secondary education, then you have the option of entering the labor market and to start working, or to continue in higher education and to study at a university or a college. And that's an important decision for some people. It's a dilemma because education is expensive in time and in money. And you think, is it worth it? Or is it not worth it? Is it worth it? Or is it not worth it? And there are calculations that can quantify the value of higher education, higher learning. There are studies that calculate the value of going to the university and finishing it. How much is it worth? Well, some experts say it's worth 10,000 euros a year for the rest of your life. If your average salary for the rest of your life without a university education is, let's say, 20,000 euros a year, well, with a university education, it's worth 30,000 a year. And the possibilities are even greater if you work very hard. So, how much is a university education worth? Perhaps it's worth at least 10,000 euros a year more than if you don't have it. It's worth the equivalent of $10 a day for every day of school in primary and secondary school. Okay? Maybe it's worth it. So maybe it's worth it. Other people will tell you, it's not worth it. Forget it. Don't go. Aristotle Onassis became rich. He never went to the university. Bill Gates dropped out of school. To drop out of school is abandonar el colegio, o la universidad en este caso, a mitad de camino. He dropped out. He's a dropout. He dropped out. And of course, he's now considered the richest man in the world. Stephen Jobs, the founder, creator, promoter of Apple Computer, the Macintosh, etc., Apple Computer and other companies, he dropped out of school. He didn't finish. So really, Michael Dell, you know Michael Dell? Yes, Dell Computers, ordenos Dell, okay? He dropped out of school. He didn't finish. He went to the University of Texas, and he was living in his dorm, que es residencia estudiantil. I know the building. I stayed in the same building where Michael Dell stayed one or two decades later. And he was a student in his second year of university, and he started a small business making by himself computers on order, custom made, a pedido. And now he's the biggest producer of computers in the world. And when the business started going well, he quit school. He left school. He dropped out. He didn't finish. So I've named 4 very wealthy people. 3 still alive and 1 dead. Michael Dell, Bill Gates, Stephen Jobs, and Aristotle Onassis. They could tell you, a university education, forget it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Okay, to be worth is valer. No vale la pena. It is not. Expresión rarísima. Let's listen very carefully. Let's dissect. Diseccionemos. Let's dissect this expression. It's not worth it. It is worth it. Que sí vale la pena. O merece la pena. It is worth it. Very strange. But that's how we say it in English. We make the contraction. It's not worth it. Or it isn't worth it. We can contract on it is, we can contract on is not, or it isn't. It's not. It's, or it isn't. Me personally, I think I say it's not worth it. It isn't worth it. I say both. I think I say it's not worth it more often. And in the affirmative, I always say, it's worth it. Do it. It's worth it. It's really worth it. Come on. Learning English? Is it worth it? Or is it not worth it? It depends. How old are you? 77 years old. Are you retired? Yeah, okay. Do you need English for travel? Do you travel? You don't travel. You live on your pension, and you have a small pension. So you don't have enough money to go to America or to Canada or to Ireland, UK. You don't have enough money to travel. What's your current level of English? Low intermediate, which means it's not very high. And you want to learn English. I'm not sure if it's worth it. I'm not sure if it's worth it. I'm not sure if it's worth your time and effort. You find it stimulating. You enjoy this class. You like it. It's a challenge for you. It's intellectually stimulating to try to improve your level. You're 77. So you're learning English only for English's sake. Se escribe sake, como la bebida, like the Japanese drink, sake. So you're learning English only for English's sake. It's a hobby. It's a pastime. It's a dedication for you. Okay. I admire your attitude, and I admire your decision. You have made an admirable decision. You're 77. You don't need to learn English. But thanks to this class, you've decided it's a stimulating intellectual activity that keeps your brain active, and that's the most important thing for people your age, is to keep your mind sharp. Many people who live a long life, it's because they are very active intellectually or mentally. Bertrand Russell, the famous English mathematician and philosopher, lived to be 99, I think, and he never stopped thinking. Okay. Many more people. Pau Casals, the famous cellist from Spain, from Barcelona, Catalonia, he was always playing. Pablo Picasso, he lived to be 91, 92. He was always active, creating new things. So yes, I agree with you. I think it's a good idea. So you're 77, you don't need English, but still, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth the effort and worth the time and worth the money you pay to buy this Vaughan method, all right, with my face and my classes and with the audio CDs and the book. All right, so it's worth it. Okay, how much is a good secretary worth? In the organization, have you ever had a secretary? For you, a personal secretary, a personal assistant. Many times now we say a PA, a personal assistant, a personal secretary. Okay? Have you ever had a personal secretary? How much is a personal secretary worth? Okay? How much is a personal secretary worth? A good secretary. Some people say, I remember my old boss said, Cloverdale, a good secretary is worth her weight in gold. Vale su peso en oro. She is worth worth her weight in gold. And I was only 27 years old. I was very impressionable. And so I said, wow, yeah, I suppose you're right. A secretary is worth her weight in gold. But then I made the calculation. And I said, okay, 1 ounce of gold is $500. $500 on the international market. $500, 1 ounce. There's 16 ounces in a pound, okay? Which means it's about $6,000. No, it's more, I'm sorry. It's almost $8,000 per pound. And a good secretary weighs 140 pounds, okay? Well, let's say it's a very petite, very small secretary. She weighs 100 pounds, okay? Which means, okay, if 1 pound is worth $8,000, that means the secretary times 100, that's $800,000. The equivalent in gold, okay, for a good secretary. And 100 pounds is only, it's very small. That's about 47, 46 kilos. So it's a very short, very small secretary. And most good secretaries are so really it's $1 million. Or €1 million, really. Do you think a good secretary is worth $1 million? Now, my friend, my ex-boss said, Chloe, a good secretary is worth her weight in gold. Now, if I were with him, I would say, no, Mr. Evans, it's not true. A good secretary is not worth her weight in gold. Maybe she's worth her weight in silver or bronze. Maybe she's worth her weight in copper. But she's not worth her weight in gold because for me, $1 million is too much money to pay for a secretary, even if she's the best secretary in the world. So, when people make these statements, she's worth her weight in gold, take it with a pinch of salt. Maybe it's not true. And calculate the price of gold. Okay? That's another. Also, this ring. This ring is made of gold. I don't know if it's made of solid gold or if it's gold plated. In English, we say solid gold, oro sólido. In Spanish, you say oro macizo. This is made of gold. How much is it worth? ¿Cuánto vale? In Spanish, you say cuánto vale también cuando pedís el precio. You go to the market and you see a special, ¿cuánto valen esas manzanas? That's very strange in English. We don't say how much are those apples worth. We say what's the price of those apples, or how much do those apples cost? Or this pen, how much does this cost? Excuse me, how much is this pen? How much does this pen cost? What's the price of this pen? But if you go to the shop and say, excuse me, how much is this pen worth? The shopkeeper will look and says, well, it depends, okay? Worth is intrinsic value, not actual price. How much is this ring worth? I don't know. It depends on how you approach. ¿Cómo abordas el tema del valor? It depends on how you approach the concept of worth or value in this ring. My wife bought this ring for me. I don't know how much it cost. I really don't know how much it cost. Maybe it cost 200 euros. Maybe it cost 500 euros. Really, I don't know the price of wedding rings, okay? So how much is it worth? Well, if you think of it in terms of the purchase price, precio de compra, if you think of it in terms of the purchase price, it's worth 200 euros, all right? Now, if you take this gold and you melt it, I think this gold is about half an ounce. Okay, half an ounce, media onza. Okay, that means I need 32 of these rings to have 1 pound. And the price of gold on the international market is $500, 400 euros. So that means that if I melt it down, si lo fundo, and I sell the gold, this ring is worth $200. The same as the price. Okay? Now, this ring is a symbol of my marriage to a very special woman. So, this ring is worth millions. Okay? Because of its symbolic value. So to be worth is a relative term that has a lot to do with the intrinsic value of something you have or something you want. Okay? To be worth. To be worth. This pen cost probably €1. How much is it worth? For me, pens that work, no problem, are worth more than €1. I mean, what I get out of this pen, lo que saco de esto, extraigo, el jugo que extraigo de esto, what I get out of this pen is worth more, in my opinion, than €1. Really. This is an incredible invention. You go back 150 years, and people had feathers from a bird that we call a quill. On the bird, it's called a feather. When you use it to write, it's called a quill. And then we had a bottle or a container of ink, and we put the quill into the ink, and then we wrote one line or maximum a line and a half. And then we needed a blotter, to make it dry. And then we continued. And it took forever. This invention is absolutely incredible. Just pushing this, we can start writing, and it lasts maybe for 3 months. If we use it continually, it lasts for 2 months, 3 months, or maybe a year, depending on, siempre la preposición on, depending on how much we write. So this is worth, in my opinion, much more than €1. Much more than €1. In the year 1900, at the turn of the 20th century, 107 years ago, I'm sure people in general would have paid easily $500 for this pen. Now we pay €1. The €500 because of the ease of use, the facility of writing. We're spoiled. Somos mimados mal acostumbrados. We're spoiled. We have so many things now. We live so well materially, and still, y aún así, and still we complain. Okay. This pen nowadays, hoy en día, nowadays is worth, it costs €1. In my opinion, it's worth 10 euros, 15 euros. But 100 years ago, this pen would have been worth much, much more. Okay? To be worth. And very important, the expression, vale la pena, is worth it. No vale la pena, o no merece la pena, it's not worth it. Is learning English worth it? It depends on your situation, but in many cases, yes, it's worth it. Is buying this collection of the Vaughan method worth it? I think so. I think it's worth it. But if you're not going to get off your posterior and make an effort, then it's not worth it. It depends on you. Whether el que este curso de inglés ahora valga la pena o merezca la pena o no, depende de usted o de ti. Whether el que valga o no, whether, con doble H al principio, whether this course is worth it or not, whether this course is worth your time and effort or not, depends on you. You get out of this life what you put into it. It's a simple investment and return. You get out of life what you put into it. And if you put a lot into this course and to English in general, then this English program right now is worth it. I guarantee you. Okay, thank you.